Hey there, hope you are doing well. In this video, we'll be looking into how to integrate Supabase with Flutter. So Supabase is a Firebase alternative. It basically provides similar functionalities to Firebase, but it is open source. So that is the difference right here. And it also uses Postgres database, which is relational, right? And this is different from the Firebase one, as Firebase uses non-relational database, right? So let's see how to get started. So basically, I want you to sign in with your GitHub first, and then you will be redirected to the home screen. In the home screen, I want you to create a new project in the same organization as the default one. So this is my default one here, and let me zoom in for you guys. Yeah, so you can basically put in your name here, so anything like project demo. Set in a password here, so you can use the generator here and copy it, or you can basically set a new password here by yourself. Then I want you to select the region, select the one nearest to you. I'm in India, so that would be the nearest to me, right? So remember the password here, okay? So that would be required in the later steps. So that's it about the setting up. So once you set up, the project will be displayed in your home screen. I've already created one, so yeah, this is the one. Now let's see. Once you create the project, it might take a while, and once you get this page, so it means your project has been set up, right? Then you can scroll down. You can see that we have authentication, storage, functions, real-time, database, and so on. And in the left also you can see the panels here. So basically we have a table editor here, right? You can visually edit the tables here. SQL, you can basically run the queries here. Then you have authentication. Basically you can use various providers here and manage your authentication, similar to Firebase. The storage is also possible here, and here you are supposed to store all your files like let's say images, videos, audios, and so on and so forth. Then you have edge functions. This would not be much useful for us right now, so yeah, that is about it. And then we have the API docs. So yeah, this would be required in a later step. So let's see what we have in the home, right? So let's say we want to connect with our project. Basically, yeah, that is what we want to do. And what it says is that yeah, we get a project API. So we have a URL and a key, and let's see how to do it in Dart. So in Dart, we can see that we are supposed to use Supabase.initialize, similar to Firebase.initialize, right? So let's see how to do this. So firstly, I want you to go to pub.dev, search for Supabase, and you will get a Supabase Flutter, right? So this has been recently released, right? So let's see how to integrate. So firstly, let's add it. So go to installing section and run this command in your project. So I've already created a project for you guys, and you can simply run this command and it will be added to your project. In my case, it is already updated. So yeah, pretty much that should be visible in your pub/spec.yaml now, right? After that, it tells us that we want to simply add the initialize statement first, and yeah, that is also required. So firstly, we ensure that the initialization is done, and then we initialize our Supabase, right? So let's go to our project, go to main, and I'm already initializing it, but let's add the statement which ensures that it is initialized, right? So once it's initialized, then we run the Supabase.initialize with the project URL and API key, and the API key and the URL is basically what is mentioned here, right? So the project URL and the API key. So basically copy them and paste them in a file and use them here, right? So when you initialize it, you basically pass those two there. Once you have passed them, then you can simply access all the functions, right? So we have a basically official documentation for Flutter here as well. So let's go to the docs, right? So just as we did, we added this Flutter pub add pub/spec, right? And then we initialized it, right? We use Supabase.initialize, and then just as it mentions, we can use the client in order to get interaction with Supabase. So basically we can use Supabase.instance.client and access any function right here, okay? So then we have database related queries here in the left, you can see, and then we have auth related functions, real-time, storage, and that is it, right? So let's see the authentication first, right? So I've basically implemented the authentication for you guys. So let me go back to the project, and you can see basic project. So basically we initialize here, and then we go to the login page, right? In the login page, we do nothing. We have simply a login screen, a login layout, basically we take email password and a button which simply uses authservice.login, right? Let's see auth service, and in auth service we are basically using the client just as mentioned in the documentation. Let's go back to the documentation, and it says that we are basically using supabase.auth, right? And the Supabase right here, as it mentioned in the starting, let me get back. So yeah, this is the Supabase that they are using. So supabase.instance.client, right? So we are basically storing the supabase.instance.client in a client variable, and then we can basically access all the functions, right? So we can basically see what all we have, like we have auth, we have functions, we have rest, we have storage, and so on and so forth, right? So in this module, or in this service class, we are basically using the authentication one, right? So we can use client.auth.signup, and basically this is sign up using email password. We can also mention a phone here, right? So if you want phone and password, that is also possible. Other than that, we have other providers as well, so we can basically use client.auth. And then we have different options here, right? We have Apple, and we can basically use other providers as well, and that is also mentioned in the documentation, right? So if you go back to the documentation, and you can see that we have sign in with Apple, sign in a user with OAuth, right? So there are various options here, right? Other than that, we can see that we are simply using the functions and passing in the values and getting the response, right? So this is the basic setup using Supabase, and by this point your code would be working and the project would be good to go, right? We don't need to use any .json file similar to Firebase. We basically, that is it regarding the setup. There is no additional setup needed now. We can basically now use all the functions available here, right? And other thing that I would like to inform you guys is that we're basically having a Supabase Flutter Hackathon. So basically you can participate in it, right? So it is ongoing right now, and the submission is 21st. So basically we have quite a few time left, right? So you can work as a team or individual, right? So make sure to participate in this one. We are basically supposed to use Supabase, and that is the reason why I created this tutorial as well. So make sure to try out Supabase and definitely submit a project over the link provided here, right? So the links are provided in this blog itself. I will link this blog as well and the Supabase website down in the description below, and I hope that you like this video, and make sure to go check out this hackathon. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching.